Welcome to Coral TV's Cheltenham Festival preview. Now let's get champion trainer Paul Nichols and Ruby Walsh's views on day 3 of the Cheltenham Festival. Favourite for the Dewson is Rivalist. Talk us through him and how you've ended up targeting the Dewson.
Well, very much like Shepard-Turgeon, who won last year. He's on about the same sort of mark. We bought him after he'd won his only chase for Guillaume McCare in the summer. I purposely then didn't run him until a Newbury at Hennessy because I thought he had a nice handicap mark, and then he duly won. Went to Sandown a week later, which was quick enough to run him, but I wanted to get in front before he went up, and got beat a short head with a penalty when he probably idled a bit in front, jumped well and got himself in front more, before he should have done. Got caught on the line really. And I thought then, if we're going to win a Dewson with him, there's no point running this horse and showing our hand too much. Let's keep him fresh and well and go. So I've just purposely targeted the race for him. And if you're going to win a race like this, you've got to have a few pound on your side and not show your hand completely. So we've kept him fresh and well. I hope he's improved, and I hope he's got a great chance.
Revelist is probably the one we have. The horse of Jim Lewis's won in Newbury, was second in Sandown. A French horse came and beat him along at the JP. He hasn't run since, but he's turned inside out physically. He's grown. He's only a 5-year-old. He's probably okayly handicapped. He's not thrown in or anything, but I'd say he's a horse on the up, and he's probably the one we'll run. The Midnight Club of Willie's, I'd imagine Emmett Mullins will ride him. He rides him the whole time. He was third in last year's Albert Bartlett behind Weapons and Misty. He's a fairish horse who seems the guys act together. He jumped really well in Clonmel the last day. I don't know will he run in this race or not, but if he did, he'd be one I'd be worried about, because he is a horse on the up.
Poquelin's a horse that seems to have improved out of all recognition this year. And I know there was worries at the beginning of the season whether to run him or not because of soft ground, but actually ran great races at Cheltenham, both in the Boyle Sports and the Paddy Power. He heads to the Ryanair, steps up to Grade 1 company for the first time out of handicap company. What's your take on him?
We'd fancied him big time last year for the Grand Annual. And he kicked the first out of the ground, burst the second, never got going mad left, always on his head. Went in, she ran the Red Rum, similar story, never got travelling, never got going, and for whatever reason never sparked. So he came back this year, he bolted in Cheltenham in October, ran a cracker in the Paddy Power and he didn't handle the ground, and was very good in the Boyle Sports. Yeah, I know it's a step from handicap company to Grade 1, but the last time he did it with a horse was this, that and the other, when the Ryanair was known as a Daily Telegraph. He'd finished second in the Boyle Sports and second in the Paddy Power, and managed to beat Fenimore in the what was the Daily Telegraph, which is now the Ryanair. I think he's a great chance. The drier the ground, the better it'll suit him. He's improved no end when he's jumping. He's in super form, and I think he's an outstanding chance. Albeit he mightn't represent much value, and maybe if you're a value person, you might be looking at Scots Irish. You know, he's been on the up all year in Ireland, all winter long. Ran a cracker behind Tranquil Sea at Leopardstown at Christmas. When I rode him, I wasn't positive enough on him. I gave him too much to do. I sat in thinking there was going to be a lot of pace in the race, and there was no pace, and I was in the wrong place all the way. And he came home really well. He's since won in Fairy House. He loved the drier ground. He's not that far behind Five Poor Steadies and those horses in the entry last year. Five Poor's, Schindler's Hunt and Nakarat. He finished fourth in the Munmelling, what used to be the Munmelling. And he's probably a value bet in the race. Loves going left-handed and he bounce off good ground. And not for 1 minute saying I'd swap the ride on Poquelin for him, but if you're an each-way punter, he might be a bit better.
One horse that is arguably the most improved horse in training is Poquelin. He's looked really fantastic at Cheltenham in his 2 runs on ground that you weren't that happy with. I mean, in fact, you very nearly didn't run him.
That's right. I mean, he was awesome first time out. Maybe obviously arguably well handicapped now in October, Cheltenham. Then he was second to Tranquil Sea on what was desperate ground. Looked like pulling up at the top of the hill and plugged on down. And then I was originally going to put him away for the Ryanair. Then I thought, well, the Cheltenham, the December meet is on the new course, which is totally different and hadn't been watered in the autumn. So it was better ground, and then we won. Put him away till the spring now. And yeah, and he is very well at the moment. One thing, his jumping's good this year, everything about him, and he's definitely, to me, the most improved horse I've got in training.
He's got to step up, obviously, from handicap company to Grade 1 company, but all the vibes from you all through the year that he's more than ready to do that.
Well, I think so, and I mean, you know, he's won a Boyle Sport, second in a Paddy Power. I think that gives him the chance, and if he gets his conditions, he's definitely capable of it. If it's soft, then I'd be nervous. But if it's decent ground, he'd have a big chance.
You've seen Tranquil Sea win subsequently. Yeah. There was very little between them at the weights and very little between them at Cheltenham. What makes you think that he'll come out on top of him this time?
Because the ground that day was definitely out of our favour. If the ground's like that, he'll beat us again. If it's decent ground, we've got a fair chance of beating him. It's literally is the ground.
World Hurdle and Big Bucks, another short price favourite going into the festival. You've struck up a great relationship with him, unbeaten over hurdles since his return to hurdles, having tipped Sam Thomas off at the last in the Hennessy when potentially was going to win a Hennessy, and probably if Coulter and Denman went in the stable he would maybe be looking at a Gold Cup. But he's phenomenal in the staying hurdle division. What's your take on him?
He wasn't as good a chaser. He doesn't have a cut of the fence. He backs off and pops, and if you're trying to follow Cotto, Star and Tin Man along, you have to stand out and jump with them, and that's what was holding him back. He's safe over a hurdle but doesn't lose as much ground. He stays really well, he has plenty of class, he's a bit of speed. He's an easier ride this year than he was last year. He seems to have improved for the summer's grass, and he's a more straightforward horse to ride. I mean, even in Newbury the last day, I was in front on him at the second last. There's no way last year you could have been in front that far out on him. He simply would have just pulled up and made life very difficult for you. But he seems to be a more professional horse this year about his business, and you know, we've mentioned a couple of short price favourites, but he probably has the easiest task. He only has to jump hurdles, the others have to jump fences. There's only 2 hurdles in the last mile. I mean, if you're a big punter and you're betting on percentages and how to make, you know what I mean, trying to limit your risks, you can imagine big bucks are better bet than the others.
He sometimes hits a little bit of a flat spot in his races, maybe just when things start to quicken up, but that seems to be the case with a lot of top class stayers like him.
It does. It was the same with them all. Barracuda, English Dreamer, the best ones I can remember. I don't remember many before them, but you know, they were the same. They ran behind the bridle, they hit flat spots, but you only get paid at the winning post, and that's where they all seem to be going the fastest.
For a lot of people, the most solid favourite going into the festival is Big Bucks. A, he's got smaller obstacles to negotiate, and B, he has looked a machine since you put him back over hurdles.
Yeah, that's right. He's unbeaten over hurdles, and he's mad fresh at the moment, which is what he wants to be. When he was schooling this morning, he was more trying to buck Ruby off than he was trying to concentrate on jumping. He's in really good order. Very, very happy with him, and yeah, I mean, he's got a big favourite's chance.
He certainly has. I mean, and he's got such a reputation that horses are sort of taking up chase. You know, people are looking for any option other than take him on. Do you think that there's a genuine, horse in there that can give him a run for his money?
Well, I obviously hope not, but in any race, it's bound to be something. And you know, he won the last day at Newbury. I suppose Carabat could improve, and I think Tidal Bay might run a big race. And he's a sort of horse, you know, because he's just a bit of an old character, he's probably going to win a selling hurdle by 3 lengths, because he stops when he's in front, as he win the best race he runs in by 3 lengths, you know. And he is just that little bit of a character, and I've always got in the back of my mind one day that might catch him out. So one day it might happen, but hopefully it won't be at Cheltenham. But the great thing is he's fresh. Last year he'd had a fairly tough time up until the champ, because we gave him a hard race in the Cleve hurdle, and he'd won at Cheltenham over in the January meeting, whereby this year we've just spaced it out. He won well at Newbury, and that day, in the Hennessy days, he was fresh, he was awesome, and the ground was soft enough for him the next time. But he is very, very good shape at the moment. That's how he wants to be.
What about Chapterturgeon? I do feel that he's been an unlucky horse, because since he won at the festival last year, sort of must have had high hopes for him, but just things haven't quite gone his way.
No, it hasn't. He's been damn unlucky. He went up 18 odd pound for winning that race, which was quite hard, and then I got him beaten in a novice chase at the end. No, he fell at the first entry, then he got beaten in a novice chase at Cheltenham. Probably in hindsight shouldn't have run him. And then this year he was a bit unlucky in the Paddy Power travelling well. Then he would have been a good second to Pockle in the ball sport if he hadn't stumbled over the jump in the last at the same weight. So that would have actually been a blooming good run. Then didn't run so well over Christmas in bad ground, so we left him fresh. I think this time of year suits him, and decent ground. The problem being is if the weights go up in the Burn Brothers plate, you'll have top weight, which isn't ideal.